Hello and welcome back to the Julia the Knitter podcast. This is episode 6. Happy New Year. Welcome back to any returning viewers, and a great big hey there to anybody who's new and just joining us. Sorry, my dog is jumping into my lap at the moment. How have you all been? I hope everybody had a wonderful New Year's and a very nice Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you had a very wonderful winter holiday that you do celebrate. But here we are. It is January, and this is a podcast mainly about knitting and basically any crafty adventures that I find myself getting into here in Queens, New York, where I live with my handsome husband, my 2 crazy kids, and my wild beast of a dog, Saoirse, who is sitting in my lap. But, hi, welcome. So, it's been a little while. I haven't recorded since just around Christmas, where I gave my Christmas knitting update. I will say that after Christmas, well, one, I did finish the quilt in time. And hand stitching the binding on the queen size quilt, my fingers hurt for about 2 days afterwards. Do you want to come say hello? Hold on, here she is. Oh, here's Saoirse. Saoirse is saying hello today. I think she's part cat because she's been finding every hello. Okay, go on. Patch of sun coming through the windows today and just sitting in the sun. I don't blame her. I kind of want to do the same thing. But I did finish the quilt, and after Christmas, I'll be honest, I felt not burnt out, but I just needed a little bit of a break. So I wasn't crafting so much, and there was one Christmas gift that I had not cast on before Christmas because, you know, I knew I wasn't going to see that person on Christmas. They were on the West Coast visiting their family, and I knew I wasn't going to see them, so I kind of put that off, and that really relieved a lot of the pressure. But I am working on that now, and I'll talk a little bit about that when I get into whips. New Year's Day, we really didn't do much. We took it easy, and I put in a few stripes on my granny stripe crochet blanket, which, to be honest, I didn't do enough work to really show off what I did. Maybe next episode I'll show a little bit more if I get some more work done. I'll get into what I'm working about in just a second. First, I'm going to talk about what am I wearing today. So, today I am wearing the lovely Treeline striped cardigan. This is a pattern by Pearl Soho, and I knit this sweater way back in 2011. It is knit up in Barocco Vintage in, you know, it's dark blue and light blue, and it's just a very simple stockinette pattern with stripes. You stripe the colors, they're 1 stripe each. This sweater is probably one of the first sweaters that I made for myself. I don't think I'd knit a gauge swatch because back then, to be honest, I probably didn't know what that was. It was pretty new to me. I was still getting into garment sewing. I had only knit a few things before that. I had knit a rather disastrously fitting sweater for my now husband before that, but this sweater was pretty cozy, and you know, at the time I'm like, okay, this is good, and I wore it quite a bit. But then, you know, as I got to be a better knitter and I knit more and more, and I didn't love it as much, and it just went into the back of my closet. And to be honest, there were many times that I thought about getting rid of the sweater, and just because I didn't wear it. But, you know, it sat in the back of my closet. I couldn't bear to get rid of a hand knit. And this winter, I found myself thinking about it in the beginning when the weather started really getting chilly. And I just, you know, I wonder if I still have that. So lo and behold, there it was in the back of my closet. And it has been just the coziest go-to cardigan for me all winter so far. I find myself reaching for it over and over again. It is not the most flattering sweater, I don't think. The button band is all wonky. I did a really tight cast off, bind off on the button band, and it's not the prettiest, it's not the most well-fitting sweater, but it it feels good. It's warm, it's cozy, and I've just been reaching for it all winter so far. So that's what I'm wearing. Okay, so let's jump into what I've been working on. So I do have a finished object, but I can't show you. It has actually been taking up most of my knitting time since I finished the Christmas knitting. I've been fairly monogamous on it, and that's because it was a test knit, and I did have a deadline to have it done by January 15th. I can't really talk about it. I will say that it will be published in the upcoming, how do I word it? Making Stories publication, which will be called Breeze. They came out with Woods in this last November, and it's just a collection of beautiful patterns. And their next collection, they are well underway, and test knitting has been going on, and I test knit one of the projects for it. I will say that it was a top-down Raglan pullover sweater, and it is gorgeous, and I've worn it already, and I love it, and I can't wait to show it off and tell you all more about it because it is just so awesome. But until then, you'll just have to be patient because I'm sworn to secrecy. So that's the only finished object I have for you guys. So once I finish that, I finally cast on the last of my Christmas knitting. I know, it's halfway through January and I'm just casting it on. I know, but you know what? I know that I wasn't going to see this person. It's for my brother's fiance, and so sue me. I knew I wasn't going to see him, so I didn't really put a whole lot of pressure on myself. Plus, I knew that it was a fairly quick knitting project. So here it is. I know I talked about this pattern in my last episode because I knit a whole bunch of them this year. So basically for both my brothers, my cousin, who I was his Secret Santa this year, and for my brother's now fiance, Ben, I am knitting up the Curam hat by Ysolda Teague, and I mentioned it last time. I'm pretty sure it's part of the Knitworthy collection. I'm pretty sure it's the Knitworthy 3. I didn't look it up before I sat down. Sorry, I'll put it in the show notes, which I should mention, as always, the show notes will be down below in the description box for this episode. So, in case you aren't sick of hearing about this pattern, because I've already talked about it 3 times, this is the Curam hat by Ysolda Teague, and I'm knitting it up in Quince and Co. Lark. I've knit each one in Quince and Co. Lark, which is a worsted weight yarn, and I love Quince and Co. I love the feel of their yarn. I think it wears well, and it's, you know, it's a nice price point. It's not too expensive, and I like it. It's a very heavily cabled hat. I'm about 10 rows away from the decreasing. I am knitting the large size on size 5 needles. This is the Crow Colorway, if I didn't mention that. It's black. It's just straight black, which let this be a testimony to how much I love my future brother-in-law because I hate knitting with black yarn. But as you can see, there's lots of cables here. It goes all the way around. I've got my cable, no, I took my cable needle out. I've got my Progress Keeper in. This is a Dragonfly in Amber. Progress Keeper by Little Bitty Delights, who you can find on Instagram. She has a lot of cute Progress Keepers, but this one is an Outlander reference, if you guys aren't aware. I love Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. The show is okay, but the books, they're like crack cocaine. I love them. I cannot recommend the books enough. You'll be thinking with a Scottish accent. That's how good these books are. Read them. But anyway, I am, like I said, a few rows, maybe about 10 rows away from starting the decreases on this hat, and you know, it's a nice pattern. I love the way it knits up. I don't love knitting with black, and my size 5s happen to be black Lantern Moon ebony needles, so I don't get the best lighting in this apartment, so I really have to like knit on it like under a lamp in the evenings because it just gets so dark in here, and sometimes it's hard to see what you're doing. It's a fun pattern. I'm looking forward to being done with it because now that I'm on my 4th one, I don't want to say that I'm sick of the pattern, but I'm ready to move on to to new patterns. But that's that. That's whip number one. It's still nice. I'm knitting it in the large size. I knit the brim a little longer than the short brim. It's a paid for pattern, so I don't want to give away the secret sauce. Basically, you have two options for your brims. There's like the standard size and there's the longer size. And I didn't mind a little longer, about a ½ inch longer than the standard size. I don't know if I'm going to put a pom-pom on this hat. I didn't put any on any of the others. I'll ask my brother what he thinks, because I think this particular recipient would enjoy a pom-pom. That's just me. I've never made a pom-pom before, so I don't know if I'm going to absolutely hate making pom-poms, but I like the way pom-poms look on hats. So, there. That's whip number one. Whip number two. So, my daughter, my 9-year-old daughter, has recently remembered how much she loves hand knit socks. I had made her the Mistletoe Kisses socks by Mina, Philipp of the Knitting Expat for Christmas. And maybe I just hadn't been getting the size right. I don't know. She's 9. She doesn't have, she's a twig, let's put it that way. But I guess she doesn't like things really tight. Socks are supposed to be, you know, fitting. But that pair of socks I had knit in a 56 stitches around. And she just loves the fit of the socks. I haven't been able to get them off of her. And the way she's been growing, she's down to just that one pair of hand knit socks. So I told her I would knit her some more. So this way, you know, she has options. So I had some yarn left over from, I knit a pair of socks for my mom this past fall for her birthday, and in the Patons Kroy blue striped rag colorway. And I think I only used a little bit more than the 50-gram ball for her socks. So I had most of a 50-gram ball left, or skein, I should say. It's not really a ball. So I figured, you know, if I was able to get a full-size grown-up pair of socks out of just a little bit more than that, I should be able to get a pair of kid socks out of it. She doesn't have huge feet. But to be on the safe side, I'm doing contrasting heels and toes. I probably should have done cuffs too, but I didn't think of it until after I started, and I just wasn't going to tear it all out and start again. So I am working on the, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, I will be honest, Resfeber socks, also by Mina, Philipp of the Knitting Expat podcast. And this is the first sock that's been released from her cozy, I have it written down, hold on, her cozy sock collection for 2018. So she has 2 sock clubs for 2018, and one is the Wanderlust sock collection, and one is the cozy sock collection. I think she's going to alternate each month which releases a sock pattern. I don't know. This is the first one that she's released for 2018. And what I like about her patterns is that they're simple. They're kind of like a step above vanilla. If you're just kind of sick of vanilla, you need a little variation in your sock pattern, these are good. So I'm knitting one at a time on size 1s. I'm knitting on DPNs. I don't always knit on DPNs, but I've been enjoying them lately, so I'm just going with it. Size 1 DPNs. They're green. They're Signature Needles, and they're very pointy. My goodness. Let's see if you can see the pattern. It just gives you a nice little zigzag line going down the front of the leg and the top of the foot. And the back is plain stockinette. I love self-striping sock yarn. I cannot resist it. It makes me weak in the knees. I can't help it. I just love it. My contrasting heel here, I actually did a German short row heel like it's listed in the pattern. For me personally, I don't love short row heels. I don't think they fit my foot well. I need a little bit more space. So I usually do the heel flap and gusset That's my standard heel. But I said, you know what, let me try it. It's written. Most of the time when I start the heel, I feel like I'm not home, and I can't really sit and focus on this, so I just kind of do, you know, my heel flap because I don't have to think too much about it. It's just, I just know it. It's rote memory. So I did the German short row heel in the pattern, and it was pretty easy. I'm curious to see how it fits my daughter's foot. I am using some yarn that I had left over from a hat that I knit quite some time ago. This is Skein yarn in their Merino Silk Sport base, and the colorway is Fig. It's really nice. It's got a nice little sheen to it. It's so soft. I had used this yarn to knit up a hat, the Loch hat by TinCan Knits, back in 2013, and I knit that hat for myself, but I didn't knit it long enough. I would have had to make it a little, it was just too short, so my daughter actually stole the hat. But I have so much of it left over, and it feels so good that I kind of like the way it looks with this. So it's my heels and toes for these socks. So hopefully I will be able to squeeze out a whole pair here. I have, you know, a bit of the foot knit on this sock. They're moving along fairly quickly. I just cast them on the other day, and I am enjoying the pattern so far. I like it. That's all there is to it. But it's a pretty simple sock pattern. I'm curious to see how her other patterns that she releases for this collection are. I usually like her patterns. How do I say this? I love the look of her patterns. I don't always enjoy knitting them. And not for any reason to do with the pattern. It's just they're not quite as brainless as a vanilla sock. Sometimes you have to think a little bit, and sometimes I just get a little, I'm like, all right, I don't want to think so much about this. You know, I don't want to focus so much. So we'll see. I am knitting it one at a time, and we'll see how it goes. See if I am completely sick of the pattern by the time I finished it. I like the way it's coming out, and I'm happy to have the finished product. We'll see. That's all I've got to say about it. In case you're wondering, in my mug today, I am drinking a French vanilla chai by Twinings with a splash of almond milk in it. And it's pretty good. It's not my favorite tea, but I kind of just needed a break from regular tea. And so this was what I had, and it's hitting the spot. It's got a nice, it smells good. That's my tea for you today. Okay, what else? I mentioned that I did put a stripe or two in my granny stripe crochet blanket. I'm not going to show it off today because there's not a whole lot to show that you haven't already seen. So I kind of finished working on that pink stripe, and I added a little bit of this black and white variegated. So there's not really much progress there. So I don't think that's going to be a project that I show every episode, but you know, every few weeks I'll show a little bit more as I have progress on it, so you could actually see a difference, see it growing. It's supposed to, oh well, I did this row. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge difference. So you'll see it when you see it. Don't worry too much about it. Next. I don't have any sewing news. I haven't been doing any sewing recently. I finished the quilt, like I mentioned. I hand stitched the binding. My fingers hurt for about 2 days afterwards. It was funny because all of Christmas Eve, I couldn't pick up anything with these two fingers. They were a little swollen. I thought it was hysterical. But it makes sense because it's not really something that I do very often and for that extensive of a project. So that was that. Let's talk about the year ahead. So I know a lot of people are doing the hashtag Make9 in 2018. I'm not going to be that specific in that what my goals are for the next year. I have a few things that I'd like to focus on, but I don't want to tie myself down to any specific project because, you know, your ideas change over the course of the year and you see new patterns. But I really would like to work as much from stash as possible this year. And I have a lot of patterns here. And I'd like to work on some of them. So, sorry, Saoirse is still trying to climb into my lap. But I have a few sweater quantities worth of yarn, and I would like to knit a few sweaters this year. Sweaters are, to be honest, they're the kind of thing that I maybe do one a year. I mean, kid sweaters is one thing. I guess they count. I don't really, count them, but I'm talking more about like adult size garments. I knit myself a sweater. I guess I've already knit myself a sweater now because I finished that finished object. But, you know, maybe once a year. I knit my husband a sweater a few years ago, and that actually was a gorgeous sweater. I knitted it out of Rowan yarns, and it was a Carol Feller pattern. I can't remember the name of it, but it was this heavily cabled hoodie sweater, and it's really nice. It's in the Contemporary Irish Knits collection. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but it's a gorgeous sweater. But I do have plans to make my husband a new sweater this year. I've been eyeing this pattern for quite some time, and I've had it in my library for ages, and I'm always like, maybe this will be the year. And you know, maybe this will be the year. So I am going to be potentially, all right, come on, get downstairs, knitting a sweater for my husband this year. I plan to knit him the, what is it called? I'm sorry, I'm checking my notes here. The Knitter's Dude sweater by Andrea Rangel. My husband is a huge fan of The Big Lebowski. And if you guys have seen the movie, this sweater is highly reminiscent of the dude's sweater. And I have yarn for this sweater. And my husband is not a small man. Let that be said. My husband is not a small man. So a sweater for him is quite a large undertaking, to be honest. I'm just grabbing all the yarn. Maybe I won't grab all of it, and I'll just kind of grab a few of the colors. So my plan is to knit the sweater up in Knit Pig's Wool of the Andes. And my main color would be this kind of beigeish color. It's the Oyster Heather colorway. And it's a worsted weight yarn. It's 100% Peruvian Highland wool. It's Knit Pig's, guys. They had a sale. It was pretty dirt cheap. I think I maybe got it for like $1 or $2 per skein, which you really can't beat that. So I think it's just the 3 colors. Okay. Sorry about the crinkling. I'm sorry. Not really. Okay, so the main color would be this Oyster Heatherway color. And then it is a colorwork sweater, so it would also have this dark brown, which is the, looking for the colorway name, sorry, Chestnut colorway. And this black, which is the Coal colorway. Okay, see, it's black. Dark brown, medium brown, I'd say, and you know, this creamy beige. I also have buttons. These are 25mm buttons. And, you know, they're just these dark wood buttons. I don't think they're real wood, but I think they'll go nicely with the sweater. There you go. You can see some of the details on there. But that's one goal for this year. to knit this sweater up. It is going to be a fairly large undertaking. His birthday's in May. Maybe I'll have it done for then. We'll see. We shall see. That's kind of my project that I have in the wings at the moment. Not in the wings. I have it. It's one of my goals for the year. It's what I would like to knit. Put that away. There. Okay, that's that project. Next, my next goal, sweater goal for this year, is I would like to knit the Stoker Pullover by Ysolda Teague. I actually have a picture here because this is the pattern. And it's a nice colorwork yoke sweater. And it's inspired by traditional Icelandic lopapeisas, which are colorful, cozy sweaters with a colorful yoke pattern. I think it's pretty nice. Those are actually the colors that I would be knitting it up in. Because I have this kit that I actually purchased from Ysolda, from Ysolda's site. So the main color would be this dark gray, and it is Lopi yarn, Icelandic wool. I'm trying to see. It's made in Iceland. I'll be honest, most of the information is not in English on here, but it is Lopi yarn. The main color would be this dark gray. It's like a charcoaly gray. And this is real good woolly wool. It's very rustic feeling. And then the yoke would be this yellow and light gray. And I think they work pretty nicely together. But that is sweater number 2 that I'd like to knit this year. And sweater number 3 is not quite as set in stone as those past 2. But if you recall, when I went to Rhinebeck, I had purchased a sweater's quantity worth of this wool fingering yarn. And it is this gorgeous red. It's not like fire engine red. It's got this, I think it's not really showing up accurately on the camera. It's a little darker than this. But I think it's really nice. It is Northern Cardinal Colorway. And it feels so soft. It's this 100%, oh no, yes, 100% machine washable certified organic merino. And I'm thinking, I'm not 100% certain, I might change my mind on this, but I've been thinking about knitting the Threshold sweater by Melanie Berg, which is this really nice pullover sweater. Do you notice the theme here? There's a lot of pullovers coming down the pipe. Most of the sweaters that I do knit, especially for myself, tend to be cardigans. The sweater that I just finished was probably the first pullover that I made for myself. I make pullovers for everybody else, I guess. I don't know. I like pullover sweaters. But, you know, this is it'd be a nice lightweight pullover sweater. And it's got a nice textured design. I've never knit any of Melanie Berg's patterns, but I really like the way they look. So I'm really looking forward to possibly knitting that up with this yarn. Like I said, I have a sweater's quantity of this. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to knit with it. I'm not 100% certain. We'll see. We shall see. My mind could change like 10 times before tomorrow. But those are my sweater knitting goals for the year. As always, I'll probably be knitting quite a few socks. I have quite a lot of sock yarn in my stash, and I would like to use up a lot of it. Just to, it's there. I bought it for a reason, because I love it. So I really would like to use a lot of it. I know that around Christmas time, Maybe it was a little earlier than that. But Sweet Sparrow Knits, Julie from Sweet Sparrow Knits, she had put out these sock blanks that were inspired by Christmas tree ornaments. And I have only knit from a sock blank once before. And I wasn't thrilled with the outcome of the socks. I wanted to use up as much of it as I possibly could, and I wound up knitting socks with a much longer leg than I normally knit up. And you know, I tend to have large calves, so I had to put in increases, you know, so that they fit over my legs. And I wasn't crazy about the way they came out. So I have this sock blank from Julie, and it's really pretty, and I think it's a much nicer yarn than the other sock blank that I used. It's much softer. I really like Julie's yarns. She has such a nice color sense, and her yarns, the quality of them are always nice, and they feel good and they wear well. And I don't know what base it was off the top of my head, so I'm not going to go over there and get it. When I cast it on, I'll go more into detail about the specific yarn. So I'm thinking about what I should knit with them. I want to do a toe-up sock, and I know Verena Kors of the Wool Club has a lot of nice toe-up sock patterns, and I have quite a few of them in my library. So I may knit one of those up, one of those pairs. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'd also like to knit up the latest sock pattern from Jacqueline of Brooklyn Knit Folk. Is it the Irving socks? I think it's the Irving socks. I didn't write this stuff down, so you just kind of have to bear with me on that part. I'm curious to see. I gotta look through my stash. I gotta find a skein of sock yarn that would suit that pattern. I think I have a nice homespun house skein of yarn that would look really nice with it. So I'm thinking about socks. I'm thinking about sweaters. I know that there's a few babies, no, maybe one, that are coming up this year that I have to knit something for. My brother is getting married in June. I would like to make another quilt for him. I hope he's not watching this, because if he is, I just spoiled the surprise. Sorry, Mike. But, so I've got a few things, you know, coming along the pike for that. In terms of sewing, I do have some sewing goals. I sewed the Watson bra this last year, and I really liked it. It was my first time knitting something like that, and I'd like to knit more bras. I'd like to get better at it. Actually, the one that I had trouble sewing the hook and eye closure in the back, and so I wound up just hand stitching it, and I did a shoddy job on it, to be honest, and some of the seams split on that, so I have to go back and fix that, and do a better job of that, because I really did enjoy wearing it. It felt good. So I maybe make another Watson bra. I would like to make the Marlborough bra, which I want to say is by Orange Lingerie. I don't know. I'd also like to make the Euler bralette by Sophie Hines. So those are some sewing goals for the next year. Also, for this wedding, actually I have two weddings to go to. My cousin is getting married in April, and I'm not in the bridal party, so I don't really have too many limitations on what I can and cannot wear. I'm thinking about sewing something up for that wedding. My brother is getting married in June. I am in the bridal party, but I'm probably going to wear something different for the reception than for the ceremony. Just because, you know, it's my brother, it's his wedding. I will do whatever it is that he wants me to do. That's fine. I would do anything for my brothers. That's just the way we are. They'd do anything for me. But, you know, I asked him, like, listen, like, I have no problem wearing this. Do you mind if I wear something else to the reception? He was like, nope, that's a-okay, not a problem. I'm like, cool. So I might make something for that. I've got a few ideas. I've been looking a lot at Gertie's patterns. Gretchen Hirsch. I know she puts out patterns for Butterick, but she also has designed, you know, she's got her own patterns. I think she actually just started her own design label. I don't know. But she's got, you know, the Gertie Ultimate Dress Book and Better Couture Sewing, something like that. But she's got a few dresses that I'm thinking about. And one dress from the book, I really like it. But I don't know if it's just way out of my skill set. It's got a lot of things that I've never done before. Not that that's ever scared me before, but I'd say it's a pretty advanced pattern. It's got this fitted bodice, and it's a halter top dress. I think it's got like a sweetheart neckline almost, or crisscrosses in the front, but it's got boning in the bodice, which I've never done before. And I'm a little afraid of it, to be honest. A little afraid of working with it. And it's got this full skirt. And I think that dress would really look good on me. See, Gertie's patterns tend to have a very vintage vibe, and that style tends to suit my body type very nicely. I've got curves, I've got a chest, I've got an ample bum, so to speak. I need stuff with waist definition. I need stuff that works with my figure, and that's really why I got into sewing, because I find that so many things that you buy in the store, they're made for women that don't have my body type. That's the way I feel, to be honest, about a lot of things in the store. So I'm thinking about making that dress. I know that there's a butterick pattern that I think Gertie put out, or she sewed it. It was on her blog. I don't remember if she just sewed it up or she designed it. I'm not sure. But it has a very Audrey Hepburn vibe. It's got like a high boat neck. It's sleeveless. It's got a very, you know, form-fitting top with a full skirt. But the back has this really cool detail where, like, the top corners, like say you had a center zip, it would be like the corners got folded down. I guess like almost like a sailory look. That's what it makes me think of. But I think that could look really well. It's a very classic look, and I think, to be honest, in my mind, I'm kind of between those dresses. I might change my mind again, but that's what I'm thinking about for my brother's wedding. I don't know what kind of colors or what kind of fabric I'd go for. No patterns. It would be a very, you know, plain color. I like colors, so it might be something that, you know, fun and bright, but it's not going to be like, you know, kitty cats or palm trees all over it. But, you know, I think it would be a lot of fun. So those are the two dresses that I'm thinking about, you know, sewing in the next year. So I do have a lot of things that I'm thinking about that I'd like to make in the next year, and that's kind of, those are my goals. That's what I like to do this year. I'd like to put a lot more work into my crochet blanket. So, you know, I use scraps from all my fingering weight projects for that. So a lot of my fingering weight projects, I want to use up my yarn so I could do that. I want to knit up a few more pairs of socks for my daughter. They're both good with sweaters for now. They both have a sweater each that fits them well, and will probably fit them at least through next year. That's it. Those are my knitting plans. My knitting plans, my sewing plans, my crafty plans of 2019. I always say this, and I don't know if I will or not, but I'd like to get more into embroidery this year. I've done a little bit. I'd like to learn more, maybe some cross stitch, figure that out. I like the way they look. I just don't always have the time to do everything that I'd like to do. So those are really my plans for the next year. Do any of you have any sewing plans, knitting plans, crafting plans for the next year that you'd like to talk about it? Because I would love to hear about them. Tell me about them in the comments below. And, you know, if you liked what you saw, make sure you subscribe to the video and like it, so this way other people can find this podcast much more easily. I'd love to hear what you're all working on. And that's about all I got for you today. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. I look forward to hearing from you all, and I look forward to talking to you again shortly. That's all. Enjoy your week, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you later. Bye.